Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday. It is the 9th of July, 2021. Happy Friday to you all. I hope you're all COVID free today. I hope you're healthy and disease free. If you are sick, I hope you're getting better. And I hope your families and all the needs of you and your families are being met in terms of food, shelter, clothing, and health. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field that are trying to save lives. Blessings upon those also that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for us, unsung heroes that make life more convenient for us. Double blessings on those trying to deliver boys and girls, men and women, babies, from perversions of sex slave operations, human trafficking, pedophilia, child molestation. And curses upon those that perform these acts and support these industries. Finally, blessings upon those that are helping the homeless. 600,000 people in the United States, 1 million around the world without a roof over their heads. Blessings upon those trying to help and those themselves, for theirs is the kingdom. Continuing our draft prospect profiles. Today we're going to be looking at Miles McBride, otherwise known as Deuce McBride from the University of West Virginia. Now, I mentioned the other day, as a matter of fact, I'm going to post the link in the description box where I have the other stuff about the Philippines and stuff. And then I'm going to put this link also in the description box. So you can see that this is from hoopshype.com. It's a compilation of the NBA teams and the players they have worked out. This is where I got the list of the people that have been worked out by the Knicks. Now, interesting thing about this list, I mentioned that, Deuce McBride as well as Bones Highland were in this list. As you look at this list, though, all of these players were either projected to go in the second round, like Miles McBride and Bones Highland, or they're projected not to be drafted at all. So you might wonder, why are the Knicks looking at a bunch of players that may not be drafted? Well, obviously, they're looking to try to sign some of these guys as a free agent if they don't draft them in the second round. So Miles McBride on Tankathon is projected to go around the 40th pick. Bones Highland is within that 40-42 range as well. But there's some of these guys that are not, most of these guys that are not projected to be drafted at all. Like, they're not even listed on anybody's mock to be drafted. Now, the Knicks have had success in this area. So, for example, Mitchell Robinson was drafted in the second round. And most people that follow basketball understand that Mitchell Robinson is a first round talent. He's a lottery talent from that draft class, but he was drafted in the second round. Also, even though he didn't work out, and we mentioned him in another video, ISO Zoe, Lonzo Trier, was a talent that they signed, as a free agent. They didn't even draft him. He wasn't drafted. They signed him as a free agent, and he was an NBA talent. Just so happened there were other issues, which is probably why he wasn't drafted in the first place. But there were other issues that caused him to not be in the league right now. So the Knicks have had some success in the second round and in drafting people in signing people as free agents that were undrafted. I believe Kenny Wooten, if y'all remember, Kenny Wooten is, out of sight, out of mind, but Kenny Wooten was a Knick, and he played for the Westchester Knicks, and he was actually Defensive Player of the Year in the G League. And I believe he was also either second round or signed as a free agent. Now, I don't know where Kenny Wooten is now. I hope he's doing well. I really wanted him to come up to Knicks, 6'9", pogo stick jumping ability, defensive presence, but he's no longer, as far as I know, in the organization. Hopefully he's playing somewhere. But so Miles McBride and Bones Highland were in this area. Now, the reason I bring all that up is, if the Knicks spent so much time looking at players, working players out that either are second round picks or they're not going to be drafted, what does that tell you the possibilities that they might be thinking about with their first round picks? I mean, could it be that they're going to trade these picks I mean, there is in the background of everything I'm talking about, there is that voice in the background from Adrian Wojnarowski saying the Knicks are going to be looking for a disgruntled star to sign. Now, I believe Adrian Wojnarowski, as I mentioned, when he says something, we should listen. And the thing is, about a guy like that, somebody might wonder, well, why does he get all this inside information all the time? Why does he always know who's being drafted before anybody else, who's being traded before anybody else? Why does Adrian know these things? I don't know all the answers to that, but one thing I could tell you, he knows a lot more than he says. And one of the reasons he gets this information is because he knows how to keep his mouth shut until the right time. That's why I believe GMs, players, agents trust him, because they can give him information and he'll keep his mouth shut until it's time to open it. Whereas there's a lot of people that get even the sniff, the vapor of information is running with it as if it's fact, like Mark Berman. But Adrian doesn't do that. So when he said the Knicks are going to go big game hunting and possibly trying to sign a disgruntled star, and then he shut up, there's more to come. I don't know what it is, and I don't even want to speculate. Okay? But it's there. And they spent a lot of time looking at these guys. Miles McBride was at the combine, so was Bones Highland, and the Knicks also personally worked them out. So, I know myself, and I know a lot in Knicks Nation, would have no problem with the Knicks just standing pat at 19, 21, and 32, because you're going to get 3 good players in this draft at those positions, at those spots. But if there was a plan to package those 3 picks and get a star, and you still, or you still had your 50, or what is it? I think they have 58, pick 58, and maybe you wanted to sign undrafted free agent, or maybe you wanted to keep your 32 and draft one of these guys. That's possible. So, like I heard on another program last night, this guy talking about Vrens Belegenberg from Belgium, and the videos of him, he looked pretty good. 6'10" guy out of Belgium, forward wing type guy that's tall, length, can shoot. The Knicks might be, going for something like that, rather than using their first round picks for themselves. I'm just speculating, but I'm just reading what everything is looking like here. So we're talking about Deuce McBride today. Now, y'all know Raw Hebrew likes defense, likes defensive players, likes to see good team defensive basketball. So what I'm about to say should not surprise you. I like Deuce McBride for the Knicks above most of the guards we're talking about. Of all of the film I've looked at of the guards in this draft, he is by far the best one-on-one defender in the draft. I can see Tom Thibodeau drooling all over this kid. I was. He is a tremendous on-ball defender. Now, on the team side, as I mentioned in other videos, he does make mistakes in ball watching sometimes. But even though he makes those mistakes sometimes, his instincts off the ball, his, playing the passing lanes is elite. This kid has got the ability, I believe, to develop into an all-NBA defender. That's how good he is on the defensive end. And so I was excited just watching the highlights of his defense, of his footwork. He's got these huge hands. When I was coming up on Long Island, there was a private Catholic school. We never played this school during the season. They weren't in our league when I was on Long Island, but we played them in the summer and they beat us. And it was called St. Agnes. It was St. Agnes. Some of y'all, if you're from Hempstead, Roosevelt, Freeport, in that area, you know what I'm talking about. It was St. Agnes. And there was a lot of guys from like my family's from Hempstead, but there was a lot of guys from that area that was playing St. Agnes. And Matter of fact, one of Steve Mills' brother, played on that team, and he was all Long Island. Matter of fact, and he ended up playing at Hofstra. That's Steve Mills' brother. I forgot his first name, but Steve Mills' brother ended up playing on St. Agnes. I played against him. He's really good, and he ended up getting the full scholarship and played at Hofstra. But there was a guy named John Birch on that team, and if you're from Long Island, you might remember him back from the 70s. John Birch probably had like a 7-foot wingspan, and probably a foot and a half was just one hand, because his hand, he was only about 6'1", 6'2", but his hands were so big, the ball looked like it was small in his hands. He was a cool dude too. Miles McBride has hands like that. he's like 6'3", he's like 6'3", but his hands look like they're on the Kawhi Leonard level. I mean, claws, man. And he uses them on the defensive end, man. I mean, and of course it helps his handle as well. So I was excited watching him and the defensive highlights, the foot movement, the hip movement, the use of his reach and his length. And yeah, I can see why the Knicks are looking at this guy. And if they're going to trade their first rounders, I can see them getting him with the 32nd. So then I was watching him shoot off the dribble. Now, statistically, his statistics kind of look pretty solid. Like, he shot 43% from the field. He took about 13 shots a game. He forced some shots. Not a lot, but he did. That hurt him a bit. But he shot 41% from 3 on 4 attempts a game and 81% from the line. 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 16 points. Solid. And you know what his style reminds me of? Some of you old heads would know this. There was, back in the day, see now, as you know, the draft combines in Chicago, right? They all of the players are invited that want to come to the NBA draft combine, and they get tested and blah, blah, blah in Chicago. Well, this used to be in Portsmouth, Virginia, back in the day. They used to do that same thing, but it was in Portsmouth, Virginia. And back then it was not like it is now. Like back then, you wouldn't see first round picks there. They, none of them were, you getting guys that either wouldn't be drafted or second rounders. And then back at that time, they had more than 2 rounds, so there were guys that was trying to hook on to a team, trying to get seen, trying to get known, going to Portsmouth. The first rounders wouldn't be there. It's not like now where you got your first round picks going to the combine. So I remember one year they were in Portsmouth, and they'd have it, almost like you had it in summer league. They'd have it on TV. You could watch them playing, watch them competing. And there was a guy from West Texas State. That also, you just saw him and you could see this guy is an NBA player. His name was Mo Cheeks. And Maurice Cheeks ended up playing for the 76ers. Now he's an assistant coach. He's coaching now in the NBA as an assistant. I forgot. He's been around. One of these days, he probably going to get a head coaching job, but quiet as kept. He's always been quiet like that. But solid. Great defender. Solid scorer. Mo Cheeks, right? And this guy's game reminds me of Mo Cheeks. When you see Deuce McBride, you see Mo Cheeks. Only difference is Deuce is more of a 3-point threat because that's the modern game. So he shoots very well from 3. As I said, 41% from 3. He shoots very well from 3. And he's got more athleticism than Mo Cheeks showed. I mean, you can throw alley-oops to Deuce, right? He can get an alley-oop. And they did do that at West Virginia with him. So, he is, I like this kid, and he's still projected in the second round. I'm not exactly sure why. I can see him as a late first rounder, but if he is in the second round and the Knicks are looking at him, there's no question. They definitely got him, up on the list. He was at the top of the list in this draft workout. It was McBride. But then, so, yeah, I can see. Matter of fact, I am so high on this kid. If the Knicks didn't have, the Knicks are going to be stacked at the guard. I say going to be. I'm projecting because they got RJ on a wing. They got Bullock, and I think they're going to re-sign him. They're probably going to sign a wing unless we get this superstar everybody's talking about. I'm not even, let's deal with it as if they don't, right? But so I'm thinking they're going to sign a wing. They're going to sign a point guard, right? So you're talking about a point guard, whoever you're dealing with. I'm thinking Kyle Lowry is probably, I know you're like, a lot of you are really hoping for Lonzo Ball, and maybe Lonzo comes, but I think Kyle Lowry would be a better fit for what we're doing right now in terms of trying to get to that next level while grooming heir apparents, to the point guard. But if they get Lonzo, they get Lonzo. But it's going to be somebody. So you're talking about point guard that they sign, wing that they sign, right? So you're going to have Derrick Rose coming off your bench. Derrick Rose will probably be back with the Knicks, and he's probably going to come off the bench for Tom Thibodeau like he did this year with Emmanuel Quickly, right? So that's a good tandem right there. So there's going to be very little time for some other point guard to play. See, people don't think about that. Like, I get people always telling me, what about this player, that player? Like, a lot of people keep asking me about fours, and I'm like, we're trying to find minutes for Obi, right? Why y'all keep asking for fours to come on the Knicks? Like, where are they going to play? You got Randall at the 4, and you got Obi at the 4. So why do you keep looking at 4? Where you going to play Obi? People don't think about that stuff. And it's the same with the guard spot. So if we get a point guard and we draft a wing, like we sign a wing, like if it's Kelly Oubre or Norman Powell, if we got one of those guys, then, nobody's going to play that's a rookie. They're not going to get any minutes, right? Because these guys are going to get the bulk of the minutes. And rotations with Tom Thibodeau. His first 9 or 10 guys play all the minutes. Okay? So any rookie we get here, they ain't going to get a lot of minutes. Unless, something happens that I'm not, that we don't know, like the Wojnarowski thing. I don't know what's going to happen, right? So, but McBride is a guy that would, to me, on most other teams, he would get minutes in his rookie year, if not start. He's really that good on defense. He really is. So, I don't know what they would do, to groom him, except give him some reps in the G League, which is fine. But, yeah, I think the Knicks Tom Thibodeau would love this kid. Really. Like I said, on-ball defense is elite. Really. He really is. I watched film of him guarding Cade Cunningham, Trey Mann. He made life hell for both those cats. He really did. So, yeah, this kid is good. I like Deuce McBride. As far as if we were going to stay pat at 19 and 21, I wish we could see, Butler from Baylor. I hope he get his clearance because I'd like to get him a workout in with the Knicks. I hope he could play for the kid's health's sake as well as the NBA career. I like him the best at 19. I like Butler the best at 19 from Baylor if we were going to get a guy, right? And I like Duarte and Trey Murphy. Either you give me either of those two wings, and I'm fine. For 19 and 21. Now, I know people like Sharif Cooper and people like Trey Mann and people like other people, fine. But I like those two guys at 19. If you can give me Butler and you can give me either or Duarte or Murphy at 19 and 21, I'm very happy with that. At 32, if McBride is there, they need to take him. They need to take him because he's really, defensively, we would have no problem with this kid. And he's got a beautiful off the dribble jump shot. Off the dribble. He could shoot in the spot up too, but he can come down and off the dribble smash a three, man. That's really good. So, and he can go to the hole as well. Now, he does need to get a little stronger, but that's just could be said of a lot of guys. He's 20, gonna be 21. That could be said of a lot of guys, his age and his situation. So, especially these rookies coming in. So that's not like unusual, but he is solid. He's 195 pounds, 6'3", 195, 6'9" wingspan. And again, that's probably 2 feet of that is probably each hand. Because this guy's got some big hands. He got some claws, man. But yeah, he's 20. He's gonna be 21 in September. He does need to get a little bit more explosive, because I mean he's athletic. He is athletic, but to finish, to be more of a consistent finisher, which is something he could learn, in the league, which is something he could learn with Johnny Bryant, certainly in the Knicks. They can definitely help him with that. And I'm saying, like, if we get a veteran point guard, to man the point for a couple of years, this is a really good heir apparent. A really good heir apparent. Now, if they're going to trade both of those picks, I definitely want McBride. And I'd like to see them look at somebody, I'm pretty confident the Knicks scouting and their coaching, for them to be looking at all of these guys that are either not ranked to be picked, somebody, they see something out there. It's like what you guys looking at this Vildoza guy, So the Knicks probably saw something. They signed him for $3 million. So, I mean, it's non-guaranteed, but there's a possibility with him, right? So we've been having pretty good success with second rounders and people that are not drafted. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they found some diamonds in the rough, on this end right here, especially if they're really planning on getting a star and signing some established veterans like a Powell, like I mentioned, Powell, Oubre, Lowry. If they're planning on doing something like that, you want to bring in some guys you could develop that's going to come along 2 years from now. Like I said, 2 years from now, you'll have something, right? So, yeah, I don't know. We're going to find out, though, because it's coming now. So, but I do like the Miles McBride. This guy, he's up there with Jared to me. I like him. I like him a lot. I'm in the defense, so I like him a lot, man. Yeah. And he's got a nice 41% from three. And most of them come off the bounce, man. Bang, whoo. And he can hit the spot up as well. So he's good on both fronts. Okay. So yeah, Miles McBride's a keeper. I'm all into the Deuce. I like him. To me, he's moved up my board. Him and Butler right there. Him and Jared Butler right there, man. I don't know if they're going to pick him at 19. I don't think so. I think the Knicks are planning on doing something, which is why they worked these guys out and interviewed them like that. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be interesting on draft night. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to be very interesting. So I would not be surprised if when the dust settles, one of the players we end up with is Deuce McBride. And I would be very happy with that. And especially if they use the other picks to either trade up or get a star. Like, for example, somebody asked me yesterday, what 3 players would you trade up for? I would trade up if I was getting Cade Cunningham, right? I would trade up if I was getting Jalen Suggs. And I would trade up if I was getting Scotty Barnes. Those 3 guys. If you're going to ask me now, if I'm going to trade up, those are the 3 guys I traded for. I wouldn't trade up for Moody. You know why I wouldn't trade up for Moody? Because Duarte and Murphy fill the same role, and I have no problem with either of them. And you can get them later. Okay? Why wouldn't I trade for Book Night? I wouldn't trade up for Book Night because Duarte, Murphy, Butler, you could get what you want later. Okay? That's why. But a guy like Scotty Barnes that's got the defensive prowess already and IQ, all-round game, just needs a jump shot, and I believe he can develop that, and he's only 19 going on 20. And that 6'9" can guard 4 positions. I would definitely trade up and get Scotty Barnes. I would definitely trade up and get him. I would trade up and get him, Cade Cunningham, or Jalen Suggs. Somebody said, but what about Jalen Green? I like Jalen Green. But I wouldn't trade up. You asked me about giving up 19 and 21 to get somebody up there, right? Cade, Suggs, Barnes. That's it. Cade Suggs Bonds. I told y'all. I've been saying this from last year. Jalen Suggs reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd, and I see that potential in him, and it's not far. I mean, he's good. I really think he's going to be really good. So that's why I would do it. Cade Cunningham, he's the deal. He's one player in here to me. He's a franchise changing player. But there's nobody else that I'm thinking, oh, we got to trade our 2 picks to get this guy because he's so much better than what we can get at 19 and 21. That's what you have to think to me if you're saying, we're going to trade up to get somebody because he's so much better than what we can get at 19 and 21. In this draft, I don't think that. Because there's too many good players in here. There's a lot of good players in this draft, man. And so, no, I wouldn't do that. Ayu Dosunmu is another guy. You can get 6'5", 194, plays both ends. I would have no problem with Ayu Dosunmu. The Knicks haven't interviewed him or worked him out as yet. We still got to find out, but that's where we're at. Of course, I mentioned Trey Murphy already. So, yeah, there's something brewing, but if we end up with a Deuce McBride when the dust settles, I'm happy because we got a guy for the future there. He really, I like him. He's solid, man. He's not flashy. He's not a superstar, but in the NBA, he's going to get you that 16 points a game, 5 or 6 assists a game, 5 or 6 rebounds a game. Not only that, he's not a big turnover guy. I mean, he really, if you look at his stats, he only averaged 2 turnovers a game. He averaged 2 turnovers and 5 assists. That's better than 2 to 1. So, and he was the primary ball handler. And he played 29 games, 34 minutes a game. So this guy could play. He's not hurt all the time. Solid kid. I like him. I like him a lot. I think we could really do good if we get him. Okay. So, that's that. Check him out. Check out his highlights. Look at his highlights, his videos, his scouting reports, and check out his defense. This is the best on-ball defender in college basketball, man. He's in this draft. There's no doubt to me. He's really good. Him and Scotty Barnes. I'm going to say Scotty Barnes too, because Scotty Barnes is like that as well. There's some good ones now. Franz Wagner from Michigan. He's a good on-ball defender as well. There's a number of guys that are really good on-ball defenders. In fact, like I said, Wagner, who else? Moody, obviously Moody, Wagner, these guys, there's some good defenders in this draft as well. And of course, there's Evan Mobley, who's, Evan Mobley is a tremendous front court defender. But as far as guards, backcourt guys, Deuce is the dude right here. He's the dude defensively. He really is. Okay? He really is. There's no question. All right? So let me know what you think. Please be safe out there. It's Friday. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it. It goes by real fast. Enjoy it. Be safe. Shalom.